And up.
This meeting is being recorded.
But what we want to do today, y'all, is I'm going to hand it over to a lot of our leadership team within our community development department, as well as you've got some higher ups here, but they're coming to you to provide you the ability to just practice your skills. Practice. That's the only way that you're going to get better at this. Record yourself. But what we want to do today is talk about behavioral interviews and go from there. Mitch, if you don't mind, just to take over, and we'll go through these slides. And then we'll get into it.
Well, great. Thanks, Kaylin, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for taking part in this activity. So, my name is Mitch Gibson, and I'm the Community Development Manager for the state of North Carolina. I work closely with Kaylin, and we work closely with groups such as yours. So, what we want to do today is that, well, let me ask you a question, Kaylin. Are we going to go around and introduce all of the Truist teammates?
Yeah, we'll do that after this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so again, I've just introduced myself. So what we're going to talk about today is behavioral interviews and soft skills. And what that is so like if you think about when you go in for a job interview, oftentimes people think about, what's the what? This is what I'm going to say. I'm really good technically. So I've got all of these skills, and I want the hiring manager to know all about my skills. But equally important is your soft skills, the how. So you guys focus a lot on the what with the coding and your interviewing, that's the what. But hiring managers, they want to know more about you. They want to know how you answer questions. It's not so much what you answer in the question, but how you answer it. Is there any logic to your thought process? Are there steps that you're taking? So we're going to get into something that's called a STAR method, which takes you through a series of steps on how you should answer questions. And I could tell you, I've been in interviews before myself where I've been, asked questions, and I use the STAR method because, again, it takes you through a series of steps on how you should answer a question. So, Kaylin, where should I go now? Are we going to do the introductions now?
Yeah, we can go on the introductions. Let's do it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right. So if we could, so I've introduced myself, so we can go around the room and let the other Truist leaders introduce themselves.
All right, I'll start. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Bell. I'm our regional president for Truist here in the Triangle, focusing on all of our commercial and commercial real estate lines of business, supporting our clients and our community outreach and foundation efforts. Nice to be here today.
And I'm Heidi Schoonover. I'm the Managing Director of CRA Strategic Programs and Initiatives. So I'm based in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I lead strategy for our department and make sure that Kaylin has everything he needs to do his job well. So happy to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Louis Freeman. I'm the CRA Managing Director of Partnerships and Services based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I lead a team of community development managers that cover 9 states in the bank's footprint in our Mid-Atlantic region, focusing on lending, CRA lending, investments, and community services in targeted markets throughout those 9 states.
Go on mute, Winston. Go on mute.
Did we lose Winston?
Yeah, no, he's there. I'll go ahead while he's coming off mute. I'm Kaylin Charlton. Y'all saw me the other day. And in case you don't know what CRA stands for, as we're going through kind of the alphabet soup, It stands for Community Reinvestment Act. So that just makes sure that banks are doing what they can for communities that where they work in. So that's part of our that's our purpose is to do that, is to reinvest our time, our dollars, and our efforts into communities and organizations that are doing good work. So I live in Winston and serve the North Carolina all the way up to New Jersey over to the Kentucky, not including Tennessee area of our footprint. Winston?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted in Zoom. Not very used to utilizing Zoom, so that is my fault. So Winston Bruce, I am the managing director of the CRA Data and Technology team. I'm based in Winston-Salem. My team really focuses on the reporting and analytics for our department. So we try to help use that data to drive strategy in coordination with the rest of the department. So really happy to be here. Caitlin?
Sounds good.
And
All right,
Caitlin, I'll just add for our Truist partners that because I know y'all aren't used to using Zoom, and we really appreciate your using our platform here. There is a little button up in the upper right-hand corner that says View, and that you can adjust how you want to see. If you want to see the presentation plus the people, if you want to see just the person who's speaking with the presentation, so you can play around with that a bit. And of course, we do have the chat in the bottom, so I hope that helps a little bit. Sorry about that, Caitlin.
Cool. All right, Mitch, let's go on.
Okay.
Take it.
So, so the question is, why do we have behavioral interviews? And I think I may have jumped the gun. I gave you a preview of this earlier. But most hiring managers know, and most people know, is that one of the predictors of future performance is past performance. That's why, people ask you questions about what you've done, because that's going to give them a good idea of what you're going to do. And so they aren't just thinking about you as a person who has a task or a job to complete. You also have to fit in the organization. You have to be able to collaborate. You have to be able to work in groups. And so they ask questions to see, are you the type of person who can not just complete a task, but you can also work well within the team. So that's the reason why they have, and that's the reason why most companies use some type of behavioral interviews. Next slide.
So I'll take these next few, y'all. So as Mitch alluded to, it goes back to not just your technical skills. We know that y'all are tech savvy when it comes to, I guess, Ruby Rails and JavaScript, and I guess maybe some Node developers there now, being full stack developers. But the data shows that employers are looking more than just technical skills, and that's some of the stuff that comes up in behavioral interviews, is how you intertwine your soft skills, that you approach and marry that with your technical skills. So if you look at what we've got here, this is from the North Carolina Department of Commerce for their Labor and Economic Division. And you can see that really reasons that employers have a difficulty of hiring folks is more likely related to their soft skills as well as their employability qualities. So that's something that we want to share this as you go through your interviews and the behavioral interviews, is to being able to weave your work ethic, your reliability, your communication, in partner with your technical skills. I mean, even if you looked between the purple and the green here, the purple is going to be those that are entry level, the green is going to be those that are for experienced. Even if you looked at soft skills, or if you looked at the lack of employability qualities, it's 67% even for experienced folks. So it just goes to show that that's a big need, and that can also just be something to support you as you're thinking through your behavioral interview questions. But when we get down to some of those soft skills and speak into some of that and what that means, what are they? And what does that mean? So if we looked here again from North Carolina Department of Commerce, they're looking at 90% of what they're looking for in ideal characteristics are soft skills versus technical skills. Now, you may say, why is that? I would advise in the best way possible two things. One, two hard truths that I've always known. One, you got to show up to work to do it, period. The second one is you got to do it with somebody else, no matter what profession you're in, no matter what team you're in, you're going to have to work with people. So that would be one of the reasons why to focus on soft skills and thinking through that as you're going through your behavioral interviews. But I thought it was pretty interesting. You know, a lot of it being about reliable, having a strong work ethic, teamwork skills, and communication. But as you can tell, having a strong work ethic and being reliable is pretty important when it comes to what employers, at least in North Carolina, are looking for. One last slide before I hand it over to Winston, and we can get into more of the meat of that methodology for the STAR approach to behavioral interviews. Be prepared. I think you heard it yesterday as we were talking to Orlando and Erica. Is, you know, be concise with what you have on your resume. I would encourage you to have your resume as you're going through interviews. That way, because as we talked about yesterday, you can have multiple resumes for different positions that you may be applying for. Make sure you have the one that you gave your employer, have it ready in front of you, and be able to speak to it. Practice that 30-minute elevator speech. It's going to be the same thing. It adds to kind of what a recruiter or someone else is going to look for when they want to get to know you quicker. You know, if it took 6 seconds to go through your resume, see how you can relate that in an elevator speech when you have to talk about it. Be methodical and concise. We'll go through some approaches to do that later on, but it's to stay within an outline to say, this was this, this was this, this was this, and I did this and accomplished it. The other thing that I would say that could be of benefit as you're applying to organizations and to knowing where they're going and what they're doing is if they're a publicly traded company, they have what's called 10Ks and 10Qs. They're publicly available. The website's here. And you can see where they're going with certain products, what they're doing with certain hiring strategies. You can see a little bit more insight into what's going on and where you could possibly talk to add value as you're going through the interview process. One example I provided was like looking at Red Hat's 10K from last year. I know that they're big in the Raleigh area, but they have, you know, at least 3 or 4 pages of what products they're doing, what's going on with an acquisition. There's just a lot of insight to get from that and research that you can do on the front end that may be able to help you speak to more of what the company's doing, where you could intersect and add value. And if they're privately held, look if they have an annual report. That would be one other thing to add. So that's my thing. I will hand it over to Winston to go to the next 2 slides.
Thanks, Kim. Some interview questions may seem vague and unclear, but there's really a reason interviewers are going to ask them, which is really to get a better understanding of what your soft skills are. So if we look at the examples on the slide, certain questions we are asked really are to get to know how someone may approach a situation and what besides technical skills they actually utilize. So for example, on the topic of leadership, an interviewer may ask you to give an example of a time when you had to quickly change project priorities. What steps did you take to initiate change? So in this scenario, the interviewer is really trying to gauge how you may have used indirect leadership to deal with change in the past. They may want to know how capable you are at adapting to change, right? And so not everyone, I know not everyone on this call may have direct experience in leadership or leading a big team, and it doesn't need to be that way, right? But it could be, how have you indirectly used leadership to work on a project, to meet an end goal, to drive performance. On the topic of consultation, an interviewer may ask you to think of a time where you had to work on multiple projects simultaneously. So how did you manage your time? In this scenario, the interviewer is really trying to gauge how you're able to balance and manage a complex workload with multiple balls in the air. So as an interviewer, I would be looking for examples of situations where you've had to manage multiple priorities and examples of time management skills and approaches that you utilize, right? So what I'm looking for is, are you able to, work on project management, manage multiple priorities? How do you approach that? Do you have time management skills? These go well beyond just someone telling an interviewer about themselves. It's really related to how someone thinks, how they solve problems, and how they overcome challenges. Take some time to just think through some of these for yourself. You may not think of yourself as having leadership or consultation skills, but I guarantee you that you do based on just some of the prior experience that you have and work that you've done. Kaylin, if you want to go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the STAR method. The STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result. The STAR method may take some deep recollection. It may take being specific and really showcasing your competency beyond just your technical skills. So this will be really your time to shine. Some of you may have been through some of these types of behavioral interviews before. Many of these questions and approaches start with, tell me about a time when, and really the hiring manager is setting the stage for knowing more about you, right? Your skills, your approach, and how those will relate to their current business goals and strategies. There are several questions publicly available. You can go on Google, you can look those up, where you can really start looking at what interviewers are asking and practice answering those. We want to break this down a little bit more for the group, section by section, so it may help kind of just help you think through how to prepare and structure your thoughts for interviewing. Once we go over those 4 topics, we'll move to a breakout session and we can then practice them with you. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about the first point in STAR, situation. Typically, these are going to start off with, tell me about a time, describe a time, share an example. Think about these things, think about these steps to set the stage. Number 1, paint the picture for the interviewer with the end result in mind. So what were you accomplishing? What is the situation? What was the end goal? Explain the who was being served, was it a client, internal organization, and external organization. Explain the what was going on at the time that was driving the need. Explain the when. And is this a recent example, and is it relevant? And then set the stage to how the situation relates to the job that you're applying for. These all will help kind of build in context for the interviewer to ensure that how you can relate them to the job that you're actually interviewing for will really go a very, very long way in showing the relevancy of it and how it relates to that role. And then next slide. I think this is Heidi. I'm going to pass it over to Heidi.
Thank you. Okay, so the T represents the task, and this is the portion of your response where you explain the goal you are working towards given the situation you described and your specific responsibilities. This is where you want to help the interviewer understand your roles and responsibilities before you get into the specifics of what you actually did. pivoting off of what's already been shared before, your response really needs to be clear and concise. And when you think as we move through the S, T, A, and R, the T is actually going to be the shortest portion of your response. So some things to consider if it's relevant, okay? And that's what I want you to think about. You don't have to go through all of these, but only if it's relevant. Explain who you worked with or who you had to lead to achieve the goal. This could be individuals on your team or others from a different area of the business you currently work in or worked for, or it could be external partners. Think about, are there specific resources that make the work you did unique that should be highlighted in your response? Again, you're helping the interviewer understand the scenario. You may also want to highlight if you met or exceeded those expected timeline or delivery goals. So, explain the win and what those looked like. You can also highlight if this was something that was assigned to you by a manager, or if this is something that you took the initiative to address on your own. Because again, that speaks to, are you somebody that's a self-starter? Speaks to sort of how you operate. And then finally, you want to close this section of your response with how you approached meeting the goal. And this will kind of help move you into that next step. Oh, Louis, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So next, A is for action. So you want to think about these steps. Tell your actions definitively in a step-by-step process. Think about it as you're telling a story, or you're taking the interviewer on a journey. So you want to give them specific guideposts. So you want to say, first, I drafted a plan. Next, I gathered the necessary resources. The third step, we built out a complex platform. And then finally, we launched a pilot program and presented it to clients in a targeted market. So you're giving them guideposts. You tell them the story. That way, it's easier for that interviewer to remember what you did, how you did it, and as opposed to the person that comes in just rambling about what they did. The interviewer is not going to remember anything that they said. So you want to give those specific stopping points, those guideposts. First, I did this. Next, I did this. Third, I did this. Next, you want to explain the how. So you want to talk about how your soft skills were utilized. Did you make a plan, budget, schedule? How did you implement that plan? And then how did you communicate between all the parties that were involved? So there are different individuals involved. You want to include everybody, not just what you did. You want to talk about how you coordinated and communicated with the other key stakeholders that were involved. Was management involved? Manager might have been involved. Some clients might have been involved. Some of your coworkers may have been involved. You want to be able to talk about how you galvanized all those different key players to make or to achieve your goal. And then number three, you want to make the action concise and positive. You want to use action words. So you want to say, I managed a process. I built out a platform. I led a team of individuals. I engaged with clients. I collaborated with coworkers to achieve the goal. So you want to use those action verbs and be bold when you're making your statements. That way you stand out as positive, as action oriented, and you stand out as a person who can get things done.
All right, Louis, I'll take it. I'm going to talk about results. So same thing as Louis talked about. You want to be very definitive. You want to talk about a sequence here. And we want to be specific with our interviewers. Instead of we achieved more sales or we saved money, we achieved $50,000 more in sales, or I saved, $20,000 in expenses, or the client was satisfied because of what we specifically did. They're looking for specific results. As an example, at Truist, our purpose is to inspire and build better lives in communities. And I could say we do that by giving money in the community to not-for-profits. That's one way to say it. Or I could say we gave over $1 million in the Triangle last year to support not-for-profits around small business and workforce development. You want to be very specific with what you're saying. So the other thing, much like others said, explain the why and what you did, right? Why were you important to what happened? What did you do as a contributor to what the results were, whether it was sales growth or productivity or whatever else it might be. And then mostly, be passionate. Show your passion about what you did and what you accomplished. Have a sense of pride, recognize your team, whatever it might be, but explain the why. And then the final thing, employers want to know, okay, these results are great, but tie it back. I mean, because I achieved these results, this is what I can do to benefit your organization. And this is why I think I may be the best person for that role. So always tying it back to being results oriented. That's one of the soft skills that we talked about before and how you communicate that. So that's a little bit about the results. I think I'll turn it back over to Mitch.
I'm gonna mute there. All right, so now we're going to so Caitlin, so we're going into breakout rooms now. Is that what we're doing at this point? Okay.
Yep.
Are they set up?
Yes, I have everything all set up, and just let me know when. And everyone, each of Chris, Winston, Lewis, and Heidi will each be with 2 Code the Dream apprentices, except one person gets a one-on-one. One person can join us today, so we will have a one-on-one. But just let me know when, Mitch, it's time to open up those rooms, and I'll do that.
Okay, yeah. So as we go into those breakout rooms, so there's a question that you want to focus on for this particular aspect, and the question is, describe a project that you worked on in which you had to identify and meet a client's need. And kind of, again, think about the whole STAR method, all the stuff that we just talked about. And so we're going to spend about 20 minutes on this, and then we'll come back together. So we could go to breakout rooms now.
Great. Folks assigned to room 1, you can just stay in the main room.
Okay.
See, does anyone have any questions about how to get there? Javier, I put you in a one-on-one with Chris, so you'll get some good practice. See.
Very good.
Oh. Daisy, I'm going to move you to talk to Chris for just a second while.
So I'll go ahead and join room 3, Lori.
Yeah, just for a second. Let's see. Hey, Javier. Are you there? Let's see here.
Kaylin, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me apologize, man. I have been ripping and running all day, and we got on the call. I about forgot what my role was.
You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
We've got this big event tomorrow down at the Truist Center. The one where it's Dante's Inspire session with his leaders, and we're bringing in a few high schools down to the Innovation and Technology Center. And I'll tell you, whenever you're dealing with executives, their admins want so much detail.
You've been talking to Joe P?
Well, so Joe's been an easy one. Not yet. the other people, like Allison Robinson, oh man, it's been like, good gosh, people just show up. It's not that hard, but they like want detail, step by step, what everybody's go. It's been a lot. So I apologize. I've been, like I said, we've got it's tomorrow morning, so I'll be glad when we get it done. But when I got the call, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing?
Mitch and Kaylin, should I be timing them to give them?
Yeah, bring them back at 4:50.
Should we tell them like when they've made sure to switch to the next person,
I
or will they be keeping their eye on that?
think they'll keep their eye on it. I think they'll have plenty of time to go through, Lori. But we'll bring them back at around 4:50.
Okay.
Thanks for being awesome, Lori.
Thank you
This
guys.
is a lot of clicks, getting everybody in line.
Yeah, Alex usually does the breakout rooms. She's so good at that, but I think we got it.
So while we're here, Mitch, yesterday the event I think went pretty well with Orlando and Erica. But I will tell you I think the good news, and I'll help you with the lift on this. Well, I'll coordinate, but just let you know what's going on. Erica and Orlando offered to do one-on-one resume reviews with those that were on the call.
Very good.
I wasn't clear if it was one-on-one or if it was all together another 30-minute session.
No, it'll be one-on-one.
Oh my gosh, that's
so I'll triple check on that. And here's why I'm fairly certain it's one-on-one. The reason why I was like, hey, they want to have resume reviews, and what they had indicated was it takes 30 minutes to do that. So per participant. So yeah. Did we lose Javier?
Did Javier drop off? I saw that he left this room and I thought he went to the breakout room. Oh, bummer. I wonder if he had connection troubles.
Hey, Lori, we were in a room and nobody came, Daisy. So I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I wonder if Javier had connection troubles, because he left here and I thought he went to join your room, but I guess not. Oh no. Would you like to sit in on another group, Chris?
If you would like me to, or I can go back to that room and wait just in case they can join for a little bit.
I'll see if he comes in. I just okay. Give me just a second and I'll find out.
You all excluded me because you think I'm a tough interviewer. That's probably why.
You might scare people.
Yeah.
I gave you the person I thought could really benefit from a one-on-one, and but I get maybe he had connection problems. All right. Let me see here.
And Daisy, I'm wondering if this would actually be kind of a good opportunity to talk to him about that. Like, if you do have connection problems during an interview, what to have planned for. Like, kind of use it as, hey, you got to have a backup whenever you do this. Time's going to be limited. Like, it happens to us all. Like, I've had it on calls where it's just like, what am I doing? I can't get back on. And sometimes it's just good to have a backup plan. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just to have a contingency, or even just an email that you can quickly send and say, hey, I'm having connection issues. I think would be, would kind of quell the nerves a little bit as well, because like you said, it happens to all of us and it's almost unpreventable.
Daisy,
Yes.
can you see the breakout rooms?
Let's see.
At the bottom where it says more, might have.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay, hang on.
I can see him.
Yeah, it's, maybe
Yeah, it lets me join one, but.
Okay, you should be able to see them now, Daisy. I'm just trying to think of
You,
who we
Laura,
might
you want me to
be.
try to join one and just listen in?
Sure. Yeah, I think that'd be great. How Daisy, let me know who you think.
Perhaps. Um,
Room 4 or
yeah, room 4. I think room 4 would be great.
okay, that's great. I'm gonna add you there, Chris. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. I'll be back whenever you all bring me back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Kaylin.
Yes, sir.
Just so I don't stumble like on the first page, what am I supposed to do at the end?
We're doing open discussion, best practices. So if they've got questions to ask afterwards, open it up. If we get anybody that's shy, just help moderate. Hey, what sticks out in an interview that y'all have had before, type of deal,
Okay, so just try to bring them in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate y'all's flexibility. I'm sorry about that.
Well, you're saying it's a trip to Raleigh or to Durham. Sorry.
So let me ask you guys this while we're waiting. So, so the students in your cohort, I mean, have they started interviewing, or this is just the prep, or have some of them already had interviews, or how's
Some
that
of them have. It sort of runs the gamut. Some are just getting started. There's a few folks on this call who have said they want to start, but they're like a little too nervous or not confident in their English or just getting started. And there's other people who are actively interviewing and who are, really ready to get jobs. So yeah, it's sort of, but this is the group within Code the Dream that is sort of more ready for jobs. They've all been at Code the Dream for 9 months, over a year in some cases.
So that makes you guys this, because one of the things that we're seeing, at least like in the news in Charlotte, like, we've got so many companies, with workers who are basically demanding that they be able to work remote, and the companies are saying that they can't work remote. Like, people are quitting, and we basically have all of these job openings because people, they want to be remote. So are you guys seeing that to where there are actually lots of openings right now to where, like the people coming out of your program should be able to get a job? Are you guys seeing that?
I'll let Daisy answer that.
Yeah, I think people are taking a few months to find a job, and it really depends on whether or not they're coming out of the apprenticeship or whether they're coming out of classes. Folks out of the apprenticeship are generally finding jobs really quickly. And I think that's because our folks are a little bit flexible. I haven't heard anybody demand outright, I'm only open to working remote. Although there are many remote jobs out there. I think as companies get more flexible with saying maybe one day in the office or a couple days in the office and mostly remote, I think that sort of helps with that position as well, because people really are looking for that flexibility.
Yeah.
And our program is 100% remote, so they're very used to that. And I think there are a lot of our folks who like the remote work. And so, yeah, but I don't think that we've had that same problem with the sort of demanding part, because I think that our apprentices would only apply to jobs, if they were
right
about being remote or or if they were willing to work in person.
Yeah. We had a company that was called Centene. I'm not quite sure what Centene does, to be honest with you, but they were moving their headquarters from like up in Connecticut somewhere down to Charlotte. And they had built this $500 million campus. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. You know, they've been building it for years. You know, they got all these tax incentives from the city and whatnot. Then they decided we aren't moving because they said, like, you know, our workers don't want to come back into the office. So why would we move all the way down there just to have a big empty office building or office complex? So they aren't moving now. So now they're basically like, we're going to try to find a seller for this. And guys, and I tell you, I'm not talking just like a little building. I mean, they built like a nice campus. Yeah, they're like, we aren't coming now. Yeah, so yeah.
I heard about that. That was really something.
Yeah. But it really does just sort of let you know where we are. We're like, you know, workers are like, hey, you know, we've got some say so in this thing now, and you know, and a lot of workers are like, I'm not going to be back in the office full time, and I'll find somebody, you know, who's going to work with me on that, you know. So
yeah, it's interesting because it also really plays out a lot in what the, you know, company's culture is like and what they want to do. And I was hearing about someone else who she works in academia, that her husband had gotten a fellowship at Princeton in New Jersey or something. And then so she was asking her university, could she work from, you know, remotely for the semester? And they said no. And it's just like, she only has to be in the office 2 to 3 days a week anyway. So it's just like, to me, that was like, you are totally going down the wrong road there, because it's like, why not try to work with your employee, especially if it's something that you can do. Oh,
yeah.
There's my timer to bring them back.
Well,
I have
hey,
to put a timer, or else I'll just start talking and never stop.
hey, Mitch, for that ITC event that you're going on, when you're rubbing elbows with Dante, do a code the dream drop name.
I will drop the name for sure.
Okay.
You ought to come down, Caitlin. If you aren't doing anything tomorrow, come down and check it out.
I'm gonna be in Wilmington, man.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
See, people like Kalen, he just wants to work from the beach.
I'm taking time off. I'm gonna try to take time off. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
Mitch, had you had a chance to meet Daisy before? I can't remember.
So when I first started, I think I'd been here like a week. I met Daisy. Yeah, so I've been here 6 months now. And like I said, Kalen keeps me up to date with all the great work, you know, that he's doing for you guys. I think I've been on a couple of calls, but yeah, I met Daisy and the other partner, the other founder.
Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Dan and Pam.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Very good. All right, I'll bring him back now.
Chris, you're back.
We appreciate your flexibility there, Chris.
I kind of came in late, so I didn't have much to say, but I was there in spirit.
So they did a pretty good job with the interview. Yeah.
Great. That was Alton and Oksana who was in your
Alton
team?
and Oksana, yep.
Awesome. Great. The others should
So
be back in just a second.
Okay.
And I had never met before. They did a mock interview. Looks like we're being returned, but I would say if you can record yourself going through some of these, that would be really helpful because you can go back in and
Winston has been, I don't know, maybe people get muted when they come right back in the room. I'm not sure. Welcome back, everybody. How'd it go?
Yep.
went great.
Is everybody back?
Yeah, it's great.
Everybody should be back now. Yeah.
Okay, great. All righty. So you guys have gone through the STAR method. We could hear Winston at the end was suggesting that his student, video record themselves. But just wanted to get some feedback from you all as to, what you thought. Are there some best practices that you want to share with your team members? Just anything. So we'll just kind of open it up for some dialogue, and I'm going to start drafting people if nobody jumps in. So anybody got anything that they want to share?
Well, I guess I'll start off. I just want to say it was kind of, I just didn't realize how much we needed to think about how precise we need to be with our answers. So it's nice to kind of get that heads up before. So yeah. Appreciate that.
And I think it's sort of like Lewis said, like when you tell a story, I think about like when I've been interviewed or when I've had to interview people, is like, you're really kind of thinking about like, is this somebody that I can work with? Like, are we, do we have good chemistry? Are we relating to each other? So being able to tell that story really does help. And so yeah. Any other thoughts? Any other feedback?
This is Cedric.
That's hi, Cedric.
Hi, how are you? One of the things I thought about was, I'm sorry, the individual who worked with us, one of the things she did, she introduced herself. And so as she was introducing herself, it helped me to calm down. And as she continued to speak, I thought, wow, this is a person that I could work with.
Wow.
Even though she and I both, on different sides of the table. And her conversation on feedback, to me, was a gift, because that's one of the words she used. And I always look at feedback not as a negative, but as a form of a gift and opportunity to better myself.
Awesome.
And so I just want to tell her thank you. I appreciate her kind words today.
I think we know who the her is. Hi.
I said, well,
because I was
no hiding.
Right.
I shared with her that it was you all who allowed me to show my face today, because I think this is the first time Code the Dream has seen me.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we brought you out into the light.
Yes,
That's
sir.
good. Very good. Very good. And so let me tell you, Cedric, so you make a really good point about Heidi, putting, like making you more comfortable and making you more relaxed. And that's great on Heidi's part. But I'm going to give you the flip side of it. Sometimes you'll have interviewees who don't make you feel comfortable. And so you might get an interviewee like me. So what my wife tells me is that whenever somebody's talking to me, I frown. It's not that I'm frowning at what you're saying. That's just kind of how I'd listen. I listen with a frown, so don't let people throw you off your game. So like if it's somebody like me who's frowning, they aren't necessarily frowning at you. People just have different facial expressions and whatnot. But it's great when you have somebody who makes you totally relaxed, and that's a blessing, but you won't always get that. So just kind of know what you're going to say, regardless of what the interviewer is doing, with his body language. So thank you for that. Any other thoughts? Ming, how about you? Anything would you like to add?
I would say I appreciate Winston and all the session. And then I think one thing I'll definitely remember after the session when I prepare, I'll always remember to reiterate myself for the situation I solved, how successful it is, to kind of emphasize on what I did.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. I need to learn how to sell myself, how to brag.
That's right.
Really liking that part.
And you know what? And one of the things too, and I can't remember if it got into all these details, like, you know, we talk about body language and whatnot, you know, but as you're selling yourself, you know, like make sure that you're like maintaining good eye contact with the person, you know, like, you know, and everybody may look away sometimes to think about something, but, you know, for the most part, you want to maintain, you know, good, strong eye contact. So thank you for sharing that.
Mitch, real quick, because Ming said something that reminded me of some advice I got years ago. So Ming, I'm not good at selling myself either. I tend to talk about the team instead of me. And in an interview, you need to focus on the I did versus the we, so that you can differentiate yourself. And that to this day, I still have to practice that. I have to consciously make sure that I'm at least pulling out in some of the conversation what I contributed. So yeah, great advice, Winston.
Yeah. And you know what? And I'll tell you guys, one of the things that I do, you know, like before I have interviews, like I sort of think about what I'm going to say and actually write it down. And because like when I write stuff down, for me, for some reason, when I write it, it sticks in my mind better, such that, you know, I kind of have it scripted out. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to say. And sometimes if they ask you a question where it may not be totally related to one of the things that you thought about and you wrote down, I kind of try to tie in that thing that I wrote down, just because I know I've got a really good story that I'm going to tell there. So just, you know, another little tactic. Now, we got a few people off camera. I don't know if they were in the rooms, but let's see. Oksana, were you in one of the rooms, and would you like to share?
Interview, it's not my favorite part. I don't like it. And yes, but I need more practice.
That's right. Well, that old saying, practice makes perfect. So yeah, probably none of us really like the interview. So, but you know, the more you practice, absolutely, you know, the better you'll get at it. Let's see, Adriana, how about you? Any thoughts?
Adriana did share something in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Adriana.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh yes, I want to share that Hailey make me feel confident, even though my primary language is Spanish, and also she make me feel confident to share about one project that I was involved and the challenge. But she remind me that when you share about this, you need to share also the final product, because I forgot that part and I just share the way that we do the requirements and everything, but I didn't share the final product, that it's upload and it's working and everything. But yeah, she gave me confidence to keep practicing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Heidi, you've just been just a great coach.
Their checks are in the mail. No, I'm just kidding.
Next time I have an interview, I'm gonna come get some coaching from you there before I go in. So that's great. And the last person, I think I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it Teriku? Is that how you pronounce it? Pardon me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So today I learned, from Winston, that like when I talk about what I did, it's better, to emphasize like what is the outcome of what I did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. It's great. Well, panelists like Louis, Heidi, Chris, Winston, do you guys have anything else that you'd like to share? Just some general tips.
I think Oksana kind of hit on this. Practice, and you'll feel it every time. Each time you do it, you get more comfortable. So as many times as you can get in front of it, do an interview, a mock interview, a practice interview. Do it as many times as you can. I think that's a good idea, Mitch, to write down what you want to say. That's some good advice as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add an interviewing technique. Just Cedric, you mentioned, helped you calm down. Breathing is really, really important. When before you ask a question, breathe through your stomach and your diaphragm and just take a deep breath and, calm and collect yourself. And I also agree with the rehearsing and the practicing. Record yourself, see how long it takes, because being concise and being crisp in your responses is always versus a more drawn out explanation is really, really well received by interviewers.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I heard something a long time ago when I was first starting out in my career, and we were going through this, going through interview training. One of the instructors said this: if somebody invites you in for an interview, they want you to do well. They are hoping that you are that person that they're going to hire. So feel confident that they like you. They like you enough to invite you in. And so just feel that, hey, I'm halfway there once I get to that interview. Any other thoughts? Anything, comments anybody wants to share?
This is Cedric, and I won't say anything after this. I just wanted to say again that Heidi was on point, and she was very fair, and she watched the clock to make sure that myself and Adriana had enough time to express and receive the feedback and see if there was any responses that we may have had or wanted to ask her. So I just really, this is really a blessing in disguise for me today. Well, yesterday and today, that I was part of this. And I thank Code the Dream and the two ladies who made this happen for us today. It has really touched my heart.
Well, that is fabulous. I don't know how we can top that. So maybe Kaylin, I'll just turn it back over to you with that. That is fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Well, y'all, I'll just tell you, each quarter, and I told you this yesterday, I've seen your work over the years. It's impressive. And you are problem solvers. Remember that. You work in ambiguity all the time, and you provide solutions. And you've done that time and time again, month after month. And so let that be at the cell, let that be the wind in your sail when you're in an interview. And don't forget that. Just do not forget that. You have that value to bring. And remember, like Mitch said, if you get the interview, they called you, right? They called you. And so your number got called and they want to hear what you have to offer, and you got the value to offer them. So part of our mission is to build better lives, inspire and build better lives. That part where it's better, that means we've got to keep working at it. That means that we always have to keep going forward, and we have to keep practicing, just like anything that you would do in it for an interview. That better is always making sure that we're practicing and trying to do a little bit more each day, incrementally or shooting for the moon. But I would say go for those small changes that you can control and focus on that and practice, practice, practice. So thank you all. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Daisy.
Thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate the Truist team for taking your time. This really means a lot to us. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And the teacuppers, we'll be in touch for the next thing.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks again, everybody.